He thought today would be just another normal evening. The millionaire, a man who had built his fortune from the ground up, was looking forward to coming home to his fiancée after a long day of meetings and deals. But the moment he opened the front door, everything changed. There, in the middle of his living room, he saw something that made his heart stop. His fiancée, someone he trusted and loved, was arguing with his mother. Voices were raised, emotions were high, and before he could even step in, the scene escalated in a way he never expected. Confused and shocked, he froze for a moment, trying to understand what was happening. How could someone he was about to spend the rest of his life with treat his mother like that? And why was his mother, usually calm and gentle, standing her ground so firmly? In that instant, his entire world felt like it was shaken. The house that had always felt like a safe space suddenly seemed like a battleground. As he took a cautious step forward, questions raced through his mind. Was this a misunderstanding, or was there something deeper going on? How well did he really know the woman he was planning to marry? And more importantly, what secret had he stumbled upon that neither of them wanted him to see? What he discovered next would change everything he thought he knew about love, trust, and family. And the shocking truth, it wasn't what he expected at all. He took a slow breath, trying to steady his racing heart, and his mind drifted back to how everything had seemed perfect just days ago. His fiancée had been charming, attentive, and loving. The kind of person he thought could fit seamlessly into his life and into his family. His mother, warm and nurturing, had welcomed her with open arms. But now, the sharp words and tense energy between them made him question everything. Something was clearly off, and the calm facade of his home had cracked in an instant. As he watched from the doorway, he remembered small signs he had brushed off before: her occasional impatience, the subtle criticisms she made in passing, but he had never thought they could escalate to this level. His mother, usually patient and composed, wasn't backing down either. She was standing her ground, her voice firm, and yet there was a flicker of worry in her eyes. It made him realize that whatever had triggered this confrontation must have been serious. He wanted to intervene, but a part of him hesitated, sensing that jumping in too quickly might make things worse. Instead, he quietly observed, trying to piece together the story behind the argument. There was a tension in the air, thick enough to choke on, and he could feel the weight of unspoken truths pressing down on him. Questions swirled in his mind. Why would his fiancée act this way toward the woman who raised him? Was there something from the past he didn't know? And what secret had finally come to light that had pushed them both to this breaking point? Whatever it was, he knew one thing: his life was about to change forever. He finally stepped into the room, his presence breaking the intensity of the moment, but instead of relief, it seemed to heighten the tension. His fiancée turned toward him, her expression a mix of guilt and defiance, while his mother's eyes filled with a quiet determination he had never seen before. It was clear that this wasn't just a simple argument. It was a collision of emotions, secrets, and long-held frustrations that had been simmering under the surface for far too long. As he tried to speak, fragments of their conversation reached him. Words like betrayal, hidden motives, and trust floated through the air, each one hitting him harder than the last. He realized that both women were fighting for something bigger than just the moment: his fiancée for her pride, his mother for her love and protection of the family. The clash wasn't just personal, it was symbolic of deeper loyalties and unspoken truths. He thought back to subtle hints he had noticed over the past few weeks: her late-night calls that she quickly ended when he walked in, unexplained arguments that she would downplay, and the occasional sharp remark she made about his family. Could all of this be connected to what was happening now? And why had he ignored these signs when they first appeared? Meanwhile, his mother seemed to be holding back something, a story or a warning that she hadn't shared with him. The room felt heavy with unspoken words, each glance and gesture loaded with meaning. He knew that the answers he was searching for weren't going to be easy, and whatever he uncovered next could shatter everything he thought he knew about love, loyalty, and the people closest to him. The tension in the room was almost unbearable now. Every word spoken felt like it could ignite a spark that would set everything ablaze. His fiancée's face was pale, her hands trembling slightly as she struggled to hold back the emotions bubbling under the surface. His mother, standing tall but with a subtle shake in her hands, radiated a quiet strength that demanded respect. The millionaire could feel the weight of history, pride, and betrayal pressing down on him from both sides. He stepped closer, heart pounding, and tried to find a way to bridge the impossible gap between the two people he cared about most. "Please stop," he said, but his voice barely cut through the charged atmosphere. Instead, it seemed to amplify the intensity. The argument surged again, words cutting deeper than any physical blow could. And he realized that the fight wasn't just about the present, it was about secrets, misunderstandings, and hidden truths that had been buried for years. He could feel a knot forming in his stomach as he sensed that something monumental was about to be revealed. His mind raced. Could this relationship survive the storm he had walked into? Had he misjudged the person he trusted most? And what was the hidden piece of information that had caused his fiancée to snap in the first place? Every glance, every movement in the room was loaded with unspoken meaning, and he felt himself on the edge of a discovery that could change his life forever. As he held his breath, The tension reached a breaking point. The words hanging in the air promised a revelation so shocking, so unexpected, that nothing would ever be the same again, and he knew that the moment of truth was just seconds away. Just as he braced himself for the revelation he thought would explain everything, something even more shocking happened. His fiancée's expression shifted suddenly, from guilt to something almost calculated. She took a step back and, in a voice that was quieter but sharper than before, dropped a bombshell he didn't see coming. It wasn't just about the argument with his mother, there was a hidden layer, a secret that neither of them had mentioned until now. His mother's eyes widened in disbelief, and for the first time, the millionaire saw a flicker of fear cross her face. The tension in the room escalated instantly, thicker than ever, as he tried to process what he had just heard. This revelation wasn't something small. It threatened to rewrite everything he thought he knew about the people closest to him. His mind raced, connecting dots he hadn't even noticed before: past disagreements, odd behavior, mysterious phone calls, and suddenly it all felt like pieces of a puzzle that was falling apart right before him. Questions flooded his mind. Why had his fiancée kept this secret? Was it a misunderstanding, or something more intentional? And what part did his mother play in all of this? The atmosphere was electric, each second stretching longer than the last. Every glance loaded with suspicion and unspoken accusations. He realized that the situation had grown far more dangerous than a simple family dispute. Loyalties were being tested, trust was hanging by a thread, and the life he had carefully built felt like it could collapse at any moment. One wrong move, one word spoken too quickly, and everything could unravel. And in that moment, he understood that the real shock, the truth that would change everything, was still waiting to be revealed. The room went silent as he demanded the truth, his voice firm but edged with desperation. For a moment, it seemed like neither of them would speak, both holding on to their sides of a story that had been building for weeks. Then, finally, his fiancée took a deep breath and revealed everything. The argument wasn't just about a petty disagreement. She had discovered a hidden family secret that his mother had kept for years, something tied to his father's old business dealings. She had confronted his mother out of fear and frustration, worried it could affect the fortune and the family's legacy. His mother, her voice, shaking but resolute, confirmed the story, explaining that she had kept the secret to protect him, believing he wasn't ready to handle the truth. The millionaire felt his world tilt as layers of betrayal, protection, and fear collided in front of him. He realized that both women had acted out of love, albeit in very different ways. The tension broke, replaced with a fragile understanding, and for a moment, relief washed over him. But just as he began to process everything, a new twist hit. His fiancée handed him an envelope she had kept hidden the entire time. Inside were documents suggesting that the family's fortune wasn't entirely as it seemed. There were unresolved debts and questionable dealings tied to his father's past. His mind spun. What he had thought was the end of the conflict was only the beginning of a deeper mystery. He looked from his mother to his fiancée, realizing that the life he thought he had understood was more complicated than he ever imagined. The house was quiet now, but the tension lingered, a reminder that the truth, while partially revealed, had only opened the door to even bigger challenges ahead. He sat down slowly, the envelope still in his hands, feeling the weak